Hello, nice to have you here in on my fashion channel. As usual, I'm going to show you something exciting you can cut for yourself. And today I want to cut a tie neck boubou. So for this project you would need 4 yards or 4 meters, and I want to use this beautiful silk tie and dye fabric. You can decide to use whatever fabric you desire. So to start placing this to cut, you need to fold into 2 sideways, then lengthwise you fold into 2, so it's like into 4. So this is what I did. Sideways, if I open this, you see that's the full length. That's the full length of the fabric. Now I folded this into 2, then vertically also into 2. And what I did was to fold 3.5 yards. It depends on your length really, and whatever was left from the length I wanted, I just cut that off, and that will serve for my necktie. So now to get cutting, we fold that into 4. We're going to start cutting this folded side facing you. Now the neckline doesn't have to be too deep and too wide, so I'm going to make it just about 4 inches for the depth. Then the width, I'm going to make 3 inches or 3¼ inches. So I'll just make it round. Okay, that gives me my neckline. So after cutting this, you want to fit that through your head. If it passes, fine. If it doesn't, you can bring this down a little. But I won't advise that you expand the neckline, but you can bring down the depth. And that's because of the tie. So now this is the right side of the fabric, and because it's a boubou, I'm going to stitch right on the right side so I can take my measurements. All I want to do is to make it free, not something clingy. So I'm just going to use about 52 inches or maybe 54 inches width for my boubou. So I'm going to place this here. So I'm going to check what I have from this point to the end, and that is what will guide me when I start sewing. So I'll do 8 inches from the end of my fabric. You know, it depends on the fabric you use. If you're using a by 60 length fabric, you're going to have more, but this is actually a 45 inches length fabric, so I don't really have much lengthwise. So the full fabric, when it's opened up, is 45, so it's not going to be really long. So I'm just going to do 8 inches all the way to the bottom. So I'm going to take note of that when I'm sewing. So I'll just sew straight down, and as I get to the bottom, I can decide to leave a slit, or I would make it wider by doing about 7 inches from that point. So I can mark this on top to guide my sewing, but once I'm done sewing, I will need to clean that off. So from the top, to get your armhole, I like making it free enough, so I'm going to do 11 inches. So what I did here, I'll do to the other side before I start sewing. So right now I'm going to cut the neckline, but remember I folded this into 4, so I won't cut the 4 pieces this way. I'm going to cut what I need for the back piece first, then I will take down the front neckline. So for the back, I just want it to be really high, so I'm not even going to cut up to 1 inch. Half an inch is fine. So half an inch that way. So I'm just going to take that off with the fabric folded into 4. Then I'm going to take down the front neckline. Because of the way I folded, it's easy to cut this way. So I'm just going to take down this, and our boubou is cut. So I'm going to keep this aside And the remaining pieces from my 4 yards is what I have on the table. So all I'll need to do is just to fold this. I want it to be really long because the necktie is nicer when it's long. So I'm going to divide this into 2. If you have more fabric left, it's okay. You can make your bow tie really long, or you can make it tiny. It depends on you. So I'm going to join these 2 pieces together so it's really long. Then I'm going to make a belt out of this. So at the sides, I'm going to stitch from the bottom up to a point that I'm going to place on my boubou. So this is my boubou, and I want the tie to stop about 2 inches into the front neckline. So just get your tape, and from that point, this is the back, coming to the front about 2 inches. I'm going to notch that point, and that's where my tie is going to stop. That's where I'm going to stop fixing the necktie to the neckline. So after joining the belt, I'm going to measure what I need round the neckline, and I would mark that on the belt. Then I'm going to close the rest part and just fix that to the neckline. So I have stitched the belt together. Now I'm just going to fold this into 2, and I'm going to measure from the back. Because of the iron press, I know where the center of the back is. So I'm going to just measure and see. I can get my pin. I'm going to see what I need to go around the neckline. So just get your pin. And I'm going to stop just where I notched earlier. Okay, so I now know where to stop when I'm folding my belt. So I'm going to notch that as well. Then I'm going to do the other side as well. Okay, so when I get to where I notched, I'm also going to notch. Yeah, so there I have it. I'm going to notch on the belt. So I'm going to take off the pins now, and I'm going to sew. I'm going to turn this belt and stop at the part I notched from the end. So I'm going to start closing that way, and stop where I notched before I start attaching this to the boubou. Yeah, so I've stitched the belt and I've turned it inside out. So this is what we have, and there's a gap that I didn't finish because I'm going to place that around the neckline. So now we're going to get to the actual sewing on the right side with the right side of the belt, and I'm just going to hold this, the center, to the center of the back, and I'm going to stitch all the way and stop where I notched earlier. So once I stop there, now I'm going to get my bias trimming, and I'm going to turn the neckline as well. So once that is done, our boubou is almost ready. So now I'm just fixing the tie to the neck of the boubou. So once this is done, I'm going to get my bias, and I'm just going to fold this at the beginning. Then I'm going to start piping in. So now you have to fold inside the boubou. You need to top stitch your bias. So that's done. Now what I need to do, the neck is set, nice and flat, and I have my tie. So what I need to do next is just to fold the sides and close it up. Yeah, so now the neck is done. We have our tie neck. I've biased this neck. I've folded the sides tiny so you can see. So now you're going to fold this into two, and you're just going to close up the sides. And the boubou is almost done. So once you folded the sides, make sure when you've sewn on the side, the 8 inches from the side, make sure you don't close all the way to the bottom. You leave about 11 inches, 12 inches to allow for ease of movement. So that's what I'm going to do next. Then I'll come to the part where I design this boubou. Yes, so my boubou is ready, and now I want to play with it. You can do whatever you like. You can get any motif or accessory trimmings like this, flowers, and just place at the left side of your boubou. It can be this way, or you can decide to get different colors and add a pop of color into your outfit. So these things are inexpensive. You can get them on eBay or Amazon or any craft shop that you want. So all you need to do this is to get your glue. I will not suggest you use the hot glue, because the hot glue can actually melt your fabric. So you want to use your normal fabric glue and glue this to this. So just look out, and I'm going to show you what I did with this at the end of the day.